It's time for the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Powerful and liberating business strategies you can start in 5 minutes or less. Now, here's your host, Dean Soto.
Hey, this is Dean Soto, founder of FreedomIn5Minutes.com and ProSulum.com. And we're here again with another Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast episode. Today's topic is this: using systems as a disaster recovery plan. That and more coming up. What is up? Man, it has been a minute. I know it's been quite a bit, but trust me, it was well worth the wait. It's funny. Now so lots of big changes have been happening at Pro Sulum. We have been growing at a tremendous pace. And with that, we actually needed to restructure our entire company, our entire leadership team, and so on. And so it's going to be interesting. We got a lot of really cool stuff that I'll share in later podcasts. But what I wanted to share with you was a little story about the CEO, president, owner of Pro Sulum becoming virtually useless and Pro Sulum still running just as it was running before, if not growing at the same time. So if you don't know, I live on a 20-acre homestead, hopefully 40 acres at some point in time. I'm trying to buy the plot next to me at some point in time, but right now market prices are pretty high, and I'm not sure if it would be a good bet to go ahead and get that quite yet. So all that being said, I don't know. I don't think it's quite the right time yet. But very interesting, though, very, very interesting, is the fact that because I live on a homestead, there is a lot of stuff going on and a lot of stuff that needs to be done, right? So I got these, I had this, a guy named James. He was my heavy equipment operator. He came and really just completely transformed most of the 20 acres that we have and made it so a lot of it was usable land. There was a lot of places where it was just hills, and he flattened a lot of things out, and it was really amazing. And it was really just a really cool experience seeing him do all of that. And one of the things when I was talking with him, we were talking about my garden, and I was making these big, huge garden beds on my, in this big, huge garden that I made. And one of the things that he mentioned was, hey, those are really awesome, but they probably are pretty expensive to make, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty labor intensive. I was using retaining wall blocks, and it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough, especially since it was on a hill. So I had to do a lot of, not only did the hill slope down, it also sloped southward. So I had to not only make it flat on one way, but I had to also make it flat. It was just such a weird angle that if I didn't do it the right way, the bed would look really retarded, right? So that being said, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to make this thing. I'm gonna try and see if there's an easier way to do this. And I was talking with James about how can I make this easier on myself, right? So he's like, yeah, so it's pretty difficult to make these, right? And pretty expensive. And I said, yeah. And he's like, well, here's what you could do he's like, why don't you just get pots? Get a lot of pots that you can use for all of your veggies, and you can move them wherever you need to move them. And it's a much easier way, and probably a lot cheaper way to do it, depending on what type of pot you got. And so I'm thinking of getting these big, huge terracotta pots, or these big, huge. And I'm thinking, man, that's going to be so expensive. And then you have to worry about drainage, and you have to worry about all this other stuff. And I really wasn't kind of looking forward to it at all. But I don't remember what I was doing. I think I was trying to put one of my sons to sleep. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to see what kind of pots they have on Amazon. So I start looking on Amazon, and I found these fabric pots. They're these black fabric pots that you can pretty much take anywhere. You get a whole ton of them, and they're sturdy enough to move around, and they last a long time. And so I bought a whole bunch of them. I bought like maybe 200 of them of all different sizes, from a little 2-gallon size to a 30-gallon size. And here's where the fun begins. So it was a while before I had started using them, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start using these things. So I go to my garden, one of my garden areas, and I'm like, okay, let's start trying one of these out. So I pick out some of the smaller ones, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to fill a lot of these smaller ones. I want to fill one of these big ones. I whipped out a 25-gallon fabric pot, and I looked around. Where can I get some dirt? There we go. Right below my garden, probably about maybe 25 feet, 30 feet below my garden on a slope, was some really good topsoil. It was just really prime dirt. I had burned there. I had burned a burn pile not too long ago over there, and so the soil was just not too long ago, but like last year, and a little bit this year, and it was just perfect. There was a little bit of ash that I could get, a lot of dirt I could get, and just really nice. It was awesome. So I bring the fabric bucket down there, and I fill it up. And then I realized, oh man, that's too much. I don't even think I'm going to carry this. So I emptied maybe about to where it was about a third. It was about maybe 3/4 of the way full. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can lift this up. So as I'm walking up the hill, walking back up this hill. I feel as if a stick whacked me in the back of my calf. And like when you step on a stick or you step on something, it can sometimes you step on it right, it can come flying back at you and whack you. That's totally what I thought happened. So I looked back, and there was no stick. There was nothing there. And I'm like, oh no, oh crap. And I started feeling I let go of the bucket. I started feeling my calf, my leg start compressing, and crushing pain started occurring, and I had literally torn my calf, not in half, thankfully, but pretty dang close. I'm surprised. It was hard. It was I guess they call it a grade 3 tear, and it sucked. So it's funny, me being who I am. So I ice it, I compress it, I do all these different things. And I knew I was going to be off it for like 2 days. I talked with a doctor, and he's like, yeah, you should be seeing some improvement, pretty quick improvement and everything like that. But it turns out that I was actually going to end up, because I don't know how to rest. Sometimes I don't know how to just not do things. I realized that my walking on it, trying to walk on it at least, was hurting it even more. I found out from a second opinion that it's going to be about 2 months before I can actually walk. So that sucks. And when did this happen? About a month ago. Thankfully, I am walking. I look like an old man, but I am walking. So anyway, I get these crutches, and my wife says, you will not be doing anything. You can lay down and you can relax, and I need you better, so I'm going to baby you until you get better. Don't worry about it. In my mind, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is the worst. This sucks. What about my business? Obviously, my business is online, but my computer at the time was upstairs and in the master bedroom. And I would have to, and this is my desktop computer with all my podcast equipment and stuff. We had moved it recently because we had guests over, and they kicked me out of my office to make a guest room. Anyway, that's another long story. So I'm thinking, this sucks. So I started doing most of my work from the phone. But what the cool thing was this was an amazing stress test to see how well Pro Sulum would do pretty much without me for a while. And the beauty of processes, the beauty of systems, and the beauty of having a good leadership team that understands processes and creates systems and everything like that is that they crushed it. They were amazing. They were crushing it. They ran that business so well. I had no hiccups whatsoever. The Pro Sulum actually continued to grow without me. The only thing I was really doing was our level 10 meetings that we have every Monday. We do EOS traction, so we were doing level 10 meetings. And then the other thing that I was doing was whatever was the kind of goal for the level 10 meetings. Other than that, I iced my leg, I laid down, I spent most of my time trying to rest. Didn't always work because I needed to do stuff, but do stuff outside. I just can't lay down. It's very hard for me to not do much. But for the most part, when it came to being actively doing stuff in the business, I was about 10% in there. Of course, being the visionary in the EOS model, most of my skill set is actually innovating and doing strategic partnerships and building out different new products and thinking about things like that. So luckily, that was all set as well. But here's the thing. Why is this important? It's important because I was pretty much taken out of the game. It took me literally to go from the bottom floor to the top floor. It took me about 10 minutes just to get up there. That's how badly I was hurt, and I couldn't sit for long periods of time, and or else my leg would swell up, and it was just a mess, and it still is a mess. Right now I'm standing, and my leg is already swelling up as well. But here's the important thing: is that it was working. The important thing that in times of disaster, systems allowed my entire team to flourish and allowed my entire team to continue to grow. This is why they are such an asset. When you document your systems, when you document your process, you document everything that you're doing, everything that you have, you will see that you are creating assets that it's an asset that allows your team to take over all of the responsibilities that are in the business. You are allowing your team to flourish, to grow, you're allowing your team to take things off your hand when there is a disaster. If you or another very important person on your team gets incapacitated, like I was, you now have, because you spent time documenting step by step everything that you do, documenting systems and processes of you as a leader, and everyone else is documenting things as well. It's allowing somebody else to step in when you are gone or when another important person is gone. And it's funny because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of business owners who think, oh no, well there's no way people can do what I do. I have proposals. I make proposals, and they're very, very, very complicated. But you forget that you had to figure it out at some point in time, and you know the right way to do it right now. And if you can just do a video and let somebody document what you are sharing in that video, boom, you now at least have a backup, right? If not having someone do it all the time for you, you can at least have a backup on that. Don't let your pride, don't let your fear keep you from documenting everything that you are doing or what your important people are doing. People who think they're important as well, who might have a major role, and they've built everything around themselves so that if they leave, the entire business goes under. If you can get them to start documenting what they do, it makes your business so much more secure. The risk of your business collapsing from an important person or from you becoming incapacitated is mitigated so much by it that every single I stress to every single company that I work with that it's one of the most important things you can do, not only for security but for growth as well. So all that being said, what is one thing right now that you can document step by step, or you can at least take a video of and let somebody else document step by step what you're doing right now that is so important that if you weren't there to do it, your business, you would start losing business? What's at least one thing? Get that one thing off your plate, or at least it's documented so there's a backup, somebody else can do it. And you won't believe how much stress, how much freedom you will get just by having that one process documented. It's pretty amazing. So all that being said, this is Dean Soto, prosulum.com, freedomin5minutes.com. Go to prosulum.com. Get yourself a virtual systems architect. They will document step by step whatever you show them. We say in 5 minutes or less. You can typically in 5 minutes you can show them one thing. Take 5 minutes a day in the morning before you get your coffee or right after you get coffee. Just record one thing. They'll document it, and the best part, they'll actually do it for you afterwards, so you never have to do it again. You spend 5 minutes, they document, they do it, and now you have freedom in 5 minutes. That's where freedom in 5 minutes comes from. Okay, getting everything down to 5 minutes, and that's what we do with Pro Sulum. Literally, you can spend 5 minutes a day. After 30 days, you'll have 30 different processes, 30 different things that you never have to do ever again in your business. And now, because of that, you are able to do more important things, innovate, create, and grow your business. All right, this is Dean Soto. prosulum.com, go check that out, freedomin5minutes.com, and I will see you in the next Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast episode.
Thanks for listening to the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Now, head over to www.freedomin5minutes.com and register for our free masterclass and discover how to start systemizing and automating your entire business 5 minutes at a time. We'll see you next time on the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast.